So it was TikTok videos that prompted me to get diagnosed, because I'd be watching them and I must have been talking about it randomly because it would come up in my algorithm, and all of a sudden I'd see like TikTok vignettes of people like literally like being like on the couch, like, and like you feel like you can't move. You're just like sort of stuck in like this kind of like oh, it's so hard to explain. And you know that you've got to go and cook dinner. You know that you've got to go and do the dishes. You know, you can see it in front of you, but you can't fucking move. You're like fucking paralyzed. And it's just like, why? And it's like when a computer just freezes or the Wi-Fi connection goes. It was literally like that. It was like, I just went, and I'd be sitting there crying, going, I know that I've got to do this, but I can't do it. And it was just like, it was just so fucked. And then there was other things too, like just rejection sensitive dysphoria. I take things really, really personally, even if they weren't really a personal thing. Just, really bad depression when I'd get it. Being fixated on stuff. And then forgetting other things. Like, another thing is ADHD tax. So I would buy stuff, right? Just shoes, clothes, whatever. For example, I'd buy a pair of like green Mary Janes, right? And I'd have them in my closet, and and they would be like flavor of the month for like a couple of weeks, and then they get put in the closet and totally forgotten about. It was like out of sight, out of mind, right? So because I couldn't see them in front of me, I would forget about it. And that also meant that like I would also forget about people as well. Not in my family, but like other people, which sucks. And then I think also too, there was a hormonal shift after having kids, and I think the hormonal shift also exacerbated the symptoms. Anyway, I had a counsellor for a couple of years that I saw for trauma stuff, and I remember saying to him a couple of times, I think I have ADHD. And he's like, why do you think that? And I told him why. And he's like, no, you don't have that. You just have depression, anxiety, and some, PTSD from this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I remember saying this thing about eye contact. And I remembered that I actually have to really focus really hard to make eye contact with you. Like, not always, but like sometimes it's really hard for me. I don't know why, but like I don't, like, I'm trying to understand it myself, but like it's difficult, right? So I remember like reading about that and then hearing someone on TikTok, and I was just like, okay. So I said to him, this is why I think I have it. He kept fobbing me off. He kept gaslighting me. He was like, I'm a psychiatrist. I know more than you. And I'm just like, no, you don't. You don't know my body. You don't know my history. You don't know my reactions to this and that. You don't know how this has affected me. You don't know, like, why am I still depressed? We're like, everything's going back to normal now. Why am I still depressed? So we got into the crux of that, and I had all EMDR, which is amazing, by the way. So then, basically he gaslit me for ages and ages. But I knew, because my intuition is always right, like 98% of the time. Anyway, so then I went to my doctor and she got me a referral. And it took a bit of time to find a place that would accept me, because at the time, a whole lot of people during COVID had the same thing happen. They had something that just went bleh in their brain that escalated everything. So all my coping mechanisms went, right? Like reading, no, not so much reading, like walking, swimming, socializing, all that stuff went away. And because of the stress, because it may not have been as traumatic for neurotypical people, but do you remember in March 2020 when There was so much uncertainty. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were going to be locked down for forever, for 6 months, for a year. And uncertainty and ambiguity it's not something that we unfortunately can deal with too well. And life is all about that. But so it was just like too much, right? So anyway, so I had, you know, myself do this big survey about myself. I had baby daddy do it. I had this person, that person. I went into the assessment. The assessment took a few hours. It cost a couple of $1,000. Yeah, it did. But I scored very high for it. And after that, it was very much a case of basically my whole life went before my eyes. And it was like, ah. And then it was like, oh my God. And it was like, And it was like, that's why I get really bored in a job after a certain amount of time. This is making sense now. That's why I can't stick to anything for, right. That's why I'm obsessed with this particular movie or whatever. Right? And that was very confronting. It was like, fuck. It explains everything. It explains my whole life. But it's like, but why couldn't I have been diagnosed 20 years earlier? Why couldn't I have been diagnosed 10 years earlier? There are so many times in my life where I would have loved to have been on the medication that I'm on for it, because I would have handled this particular situation better. I wouldn't have made a complete dick of myself with this person or whatever. So it's been really confronting and like really kind of like a whole lot of just oh my God, how embarrassing, oh my God moments. And that's a lot, and it takes a lot to come to terms with that. And not everyone, the thing is that when you get diagnosed, not everyone is going to stick around, right? Because when you get diagnosed and you start taking your medication, you become more assertive. You start saying, you know, you start speaking your truth. And so I didn't know who I was for a long time. I still don't fucking know who I am. I'm still figuring it out. Because, you know, I really in some ways feel like my life has only just really started since I got diagnosed. So it's like it kind of amplifies everything that you want and need, but it also then makes you see things in other people that you didn't see before. So all of a sudden, a particular person, you see them in a completely different light. And they see you in a different light as well, because you're not a pushover anymore. You're not as much of a doormat. You're saying things that they're uncomfortable with. You're too much, but also not enough at the same time. So, if anybody wants to talk more about this, please DM me. I'm sorry these videos are long, but I really wish that this advocacy for ADHD and being on the spectrum, I really wish it had been around when I was growing up, you know. So if what I can do is to educate people and pass on the information I have and the symptoms, then if it's going to help somebody, then great.